From Fox 8 Sports, this is the Overtime Podcast.
From the Fox 8 studios in New Orleans is the Fox 8 Overtime Podcast. I'm Vasilios. That is Sean Fazan. Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to and now watch your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification button. You get notified whenever we upload a new podcast. We've been gone for a minute.
Yes.
Vacation, College World Series. It's been hectic, but we're back, and training camp is following us soon thereafter. Sean Fazan, how are you, brother?
I'm good. First, a sincere apology to all of you. I have heard from a few of you about what's up with the podcast. We are back in full effect, but you know the way this business works, sometimes sometimes the vacation time gets condensed into a small window, and it just so happened that Sil and myself had to take it around the same time, but it was good. Batteries got recharged. I feel refreshed. I feel ready. Hopefully you feel the same because we got a juggernaut on the way with this football season up ahead beginning next week with the Saints training camp. But had some good time at the beach. Went to something I hadn't experienced before. That was the Blues weekend in Pensacola. It's the Blue Angels. It's an air show, but it's a big party on the Pensacola Bay and beach, and fantastic time. So ended up having a really good stretch there. And, you know, the older I get, you know, that break I take before training camp is it's good because I got young kids. I gotta kind of regroup a little bit and get myself set up for the season up ahead, which we go. There's all gas, no brakes. We are firmly on the accelerator beginning next week. By the way, podcast much more frequent beginning next week when the training camp practices begin. We'll be tweeting out with a little more detail in terms of when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, and who could potentially be on those podcasts. But like Sil said, be sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, subscribe to that Fox 8 Overtime YouTube page. I got it all out the way. I think we acknowledged the gap there with enough explanation to get into.
You went out. You did stuff. I just did a staycation. That was the way I recharged my batteries, man. But absolutely.
Well, good for you, man. That's the way you like to recharge.
Sometimes you just got to get it out of the building. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. And we just look when you have a run like LSU had in the College World Series. You got to do it. You got to roll with it. So nonetheless, we are all football right now.
24/7 now, bro.
And training camp begins next week, and there is quite a bit of optimism and confidence brewing out on Airline Drive, where the Saints will begin practicing next Wednesday. And you know, I've been thinking a lot about this because I'm so far into this with covering this team and breaking down this team and analyzing this team. I literally write out the Saints roster. I look at the Saints roster. I do certain things to kind of – I like to use micro details to kind of formulate a macro theme. I feel like that's kind of what I do, especially on this podcast. And
sure.
I think
done it before.
There are a couple things emerging with this team, and one in particular that I would like to talk about today. So with that in mind, are you ready to get rolling? I'm
always ready.
All right. Age, experience, youth. Are you old or are you experienced? Are you a young up-and-coming team or are you too young and too raw?
Sure.
Okay? There's that duality that always plays itself out in every football season. But as I look at this New Orleans Saints team, and we spoke about this when we spoke about their salary cap approach. When they feel like they have a window, they utilize their salary cap magic with Kai Harley to remain relevant in that window. But what have I always said? I have always said there is one major risk. And the risk is when you're constantly undoing contracts, it makes it harder to get rid of a guy when it's time to move on. Thus, you have the risk of having an aging roster. That's the risk. It's the risk they've been willing to take. So, with that in mind, I do my roster look, and I start to watch and look and see And I just noticed how many players over 30 they're counting on this year.
What's the number?
Derek Carr.
Okay, yeah.
Taysom Hill. Cam Jordan. Demario Davis. Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas. Marcus May. And 2 guys will turn 30. Shepard, the new D tackle.
Okay, yeah.
And Andrus Peat is going to turn 30 during the season. So let's count them up. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's 10 guys you're counting on. Some as top tier stars, others as very quality pieces. You're counting on that are in the latter stages of their career.
I mean, Carr could have like another. Like
with the exception of Derek Carr, because the quarterback position, especially with the way he plays it, he could have another 5 or 6 years and
That's
be
what
fine.
I'm saying, yeah.
But the rest of those guys,
Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. Probably the
you're
ones
talking about right down the middle of the defense. Cam Jordan, well, not middle edge, but Demario Davis, and obviously
talking about the front 7.
Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah,
that's and Marcus May, the other safety. Those are guys either at 30 or over the age of 30. Now, look, they still could have a lot left in the tank. But when you look at the big picture, the way this roster is constructed, that's just something I have my eye on, because you have so many guys. Now, I'd have to go back and check past teams if this is a lot compared to previous years. And sometimes that age can equal experience, which can be a huge asset. Hopefully that's what the Saints are banking on. That's what's going to happen this year. But as we've seen, Father Time waits for no one. It could hit a few of these guys. It could hit one of these guys. It could hit none of them. We don't know. But what am I getting at? Someone on this team, on their rookie contract, must emerge out of the shadows and declare themselves the next star and or great player on this team. Someone must emerge, similar to what happened in 2017 when they were able to reboot and restart that last wave of success. You know, you had the 2017 draft class with Kamara, with Ramczyk, with Marshawn Lattimore, with even Marcus Williams and Anzalone and Hendricks, all those guys. Mm-hmm. Plus, you had Michael Thomas from the season before. That really catapulted them to the next generation, if you will, into the success of 17 through 19.
Now, who do you think that guy's going to be then?
Well, who are the possibilities?
Who are the possibilities? Yeah.
I think right now there are 2 guys whose careers could be trending in that direction, and by the end of this year, hopefully they get there. They are Chris Olave and Pete Werner. Mm-hmm. I think hopefully by the end of the year, those 2 guys will have emerged as the next generation star of the New Orleans Saints. I think that needs to happen just for the natural cycle of life in the NFL. There has to be some young blood developing into not just young players, but young, experienced players that could be at the top of their game, not just with this team, but also with the entire NFL. Pete Werner, Chris Olave, to me, have the best chance. But there are other possibilities. But I think it's time somebody emerges. And I think I think this organization needs to have it. You have Paulson Adebo, Alontae Taylor, Rashid Shaheed, Trevor Penning, Peyton Turner. Can he finally turn the corner?
It's true.
And then the young guys, Brian Brzee, Isaiah Falsky, who knows with the running back, Kendre Miller. I'm willing to give those guys a little bit more of a window with their first year. But some of these guys, especially from, say, the 2020 draft class on, I think this team is ready to see someone of those draft classes or multiple players emerge as go-to guys for the New Orleans Saints. And like I said, I think there are a couple guys scratching the surface, but I think this organization needs that just for the natural flow of year in and year out success. It may not manifest itself this year in terms of wins and losses. Again, a lot of these guys could still be at the top of their game, haven't lost enough, and still giving you what you need. And the product as a whole does not take a hit. In fact, they're better than what they were a season ago, especially with the emergence of Derek Carr. But I do think big picture, I would like to see that. I would like to see the next generation form itself within this organization. I think Werner's got the potential if he stays healthy. Yeah. I think Olave had a great rookie year, and they only want to build on it. but I'd like to see a few more. I'd like to see a few more of those guys. I mean, any of those guys stand out to you in terms of who could potentially be a guy?
It's like you said just now about Pete Werner, and that was kind of my worry, was that he has to be available. Mm-hmm. And I mean, he looks, when he's healthy, when he's sideline to sideline, he looks like a guy that you could build that entire linebacking core around. Like, he's just he looks like the heir apparent to DeMario whenever DeMario's ready to hang up the cleats. And as for Olave, I want to see some more refinement on the route running and everything like that. Maybe put on a few more pounds of muscle without sacrificing speed and everything like that. Shaheed, like you mentioned, I think he can be a really fantastic option because speaking of route running, that dude can run some routes.
He can run. And he's not just a nine route runner. He can short, medium, and long. So I think those are the possibilities, and it's always
with a new quarterback, anything's possible.
Anything's possible with a new quarterback, and that's when you kind of call a guy like Derek Carr a multiplier. That's why when you put his presence in, perhaps it multiplies the output of other players around him. That's what Drew did. I mean, I just went back and saw a video, I guess it was a couple months ago, of the night Breeze threw 4 touchdowns to 4 undrafted rookies. Like, it's that, like, he was just a multiplier, and I'm not expecting Derek Carr to do that kind of stuff. But I do think that the presence at that position can certainly help, and it permeates throughout the organization. And I think we've discussed that. We've thoroughly discussed that. But I also think, I think when you look at this team going forward into this season, you like where they stand in the hierarchy of the NFC South. You like where you're at certain positions in terms of front line. I think there's some areas where they could use some front line and also depth, but I think overall it's a good enough roster to compete. But when you start piecing it all together like I like to do, I think by the end of the season, one of these young guys, I think, needs to kind of introduce himself as the next star of the New Orleans Saints. And I think that's pretty reasonable. And I think if you ask the organization the same thing, that's what they want. I mean, it's what you draft these guys for. Mm-hmm. You want to be able to build through the draft and have that next generation of success, because I'll go through them again. Carr, who's 32, but I think we could say he's still kind of in the middle-ish of his career. But Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, Michael Thomas, Marcus May, Taysom Hill, Bradley Roby. I mean, these guys are all over 30, and 2 guys are going to turn 30 this year. And, individually you can break each one down and say maybe they are, maybe they won't. But collectively, they have that many guys. The likelihood that they're all still at the top of their game, I think that's something to really watch going forward, because I don't know if that's going to be the case. But that's why we love training camp. That's why we love preseason and the regular season, because frankly, you can really dive into all those subtle details and all those storylines as we get closer and closer to what should be a very fun, very involved, in-depth, and just a good football season up ahead.
First practice on Wednesday, right? First
practice is on Wednesday, and I was already asked, because I did a radio show yesterday. What am I be looking for? It's like, number 4. I want to see number 4 that I saw in the offseason. I want to see him pick up where he left off. I want to see the chemistry still there. I want to see the growth. I want to see the accelerated learning curve. And I want to see the line of scrimmage, because I still haven't I think there's some things that need to be figured out, especially on the defensive line of scrimmage with this team. So Tuesday they talk. Dennis Allen and Mickey Loomis. I think the veterans report Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we get rolling with Saints 2023 training camp. Should be fun.
Yeah, and I think fans are going to be able to head to open practice, I think, starting next Friday.
Got to look at the list, but it's there's a few. So,
but yeah, so I think that'll wrap it up for us today, right?
Yeah, a good jump back into the process here. But we're about to get rolling here with these podcasts quite frequently here over the next stretch of time here.
Remember to like, subscribe, rate, and review. You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts, and now watch your podcast if you're watching on the YouTube channel. Remember, again, hit the like, subscribe, hit the little bell button, get notified whenever we release a podcast. And if you want some more Saints training camp content, Sean's Ranking the Saints Countdown continues tonight with number 2. Tune in at 10 o'clock for that. For Sean Fazan, I'm Vasilios. We'll catch you guys next time.